Alright, welcome back, and here in this video I'm going to finish up on backgrounds, and then I'm going to talk about transitions and also um, the change between slides and also the Apostles' Creed, Lord's Prayer, and I'll finish up with this video here in typing up lyrics. So in the last video I talked about just putting in the different styles of background, the themes. Here in designs you have the themes, the colors, fonts, and effects, which I haven't used before, and also the background styles, and I talked about the color psychology of the eyes perceiving the amount of light and what makes it your eyes more relaxing to it. And so I'm going to be finishing up with backgrounds. Over here in Format Background, once you right click a slide, it takes you to this window, the Format Background. And when you click on Picture or Texture Fill, and you click on the file, then you select the image that you saved on whatever you searched on. And over here, this is something called transparency. Now, transparency, if you've ever heard of the word, maybe transparent, making something look like it's there, but it's fading out. And so what transparency is that it's the same thing for here, but the effects go on the background slides. So let's say if I change the transparency by 20%, and you look at that, if you just saw that, the background slightly turned brighter, and that's what transparency does. It makes things brighter, seeming as if it fades away. Now let's say if I do 80%, and look at that. Now it may be a bit too bright, but you can see just a little bit of blue and clouds and also the sun. So basically transparency, it camouflages the background into a brighter, into a bright white background. Now let's say, now I can't go negative because as it shows, the entry must be greater than or equal to 0, and that's what transparency does. And let's say if you do want to make the image brighter, so I'm going to zero it back down. Go to Artistic Effects, and then click on and if you go here and see the Artistic Effects, you can see these. I haven't used these before, but Artistic Effects, just experiment them out. Let's try marker, for example. Oh, okay. So if you look at the background, it looks like everything was drawn in marker. Okay. And let's go and see blur. Okay, so it does blur a little bit, so keep experimenting with these artistic effects. And so I'm going to bring it back to the original. And let's look at picture corrections. Now, this is what I wanted to show you here. The softness and sharpen, and presets, well, you can depend, that can depend on the sharpen and softness that whatever level you want to go to, but let's say a little bit more sharpness. So I haven't used here this sharpen and soften feature before. Okay, so if you look at that, I sharpened it. So what sharpen does, basically from what I can see, is that it kind of looks like it outlines all the artistic effects of the background image. So it's almost as if you can draw a Sharpie along the lines of every other parts of the image. And let's say if I want to soften it and take a look at the clouds. Well, okay, so then the images, the parts of the images such as the clouds, blend into the image together as a whole. So if I want to go more soften, up the level of the soften percentage, okay, now that looks really blurry. So play around, just keep seeing what would make all these background images really stand out to you. And now the brightness you can control. And so I've zeroed it down, and let's take a look at brightness. So let's say if I want to make it brighter, then increase the percentage that by 50%, let's say. Okay, well, that's really bright. So you can also go negative as well, so negative 50%. Okay, so brightness, it either turns brighter by the white color or darker by the black color. In contrast, let's experiment with that. Let's say 50%. Well, okay, so contrast can change the color of the background. So it really brought out the blue in the background image. And let's say negative 50%. Okay, so it made it a bit more grayer. And let's say if I make it negative 90%. Ooh, that's a lot more gray. Okay, so contrast is basically more color coming out or more gray. So keep looking into that. Picture color, saturation. Let's see what that does. So just keep moving these percents around until you can see what's changing here. So originally it was 100%. So okay, so I made it down to 0%, and so it looks completely gray. So basically saturation, if you took chemistry before or just know the term saturation, the mixture of colors. So if it was 400%. Okay, so the colors really stand out. And if you see there, the clouds aren't white as it usually was. And so more color. So that's another trick that you guys can learn. So I'm going to bring that back to 100. And there you go. It's okay, so it's originally gray. Temperature. So 6,500. Keep that in mind as the original. So I made that 9,000. 10,250. Now let's bring it back here. Oh wow, okay, so temperature, I guess it brings the colors, it really controls the color shade entirely. So if I brought it out here, then okay, so there's more brightness here, but I'm going to bring it back to 6,500. Okay, so presets, recolor. I don't know if you guys want to do that as much, but it just alters the color setting into a different color. I usually like to keep the original image as itself. And then the fill is where you guys have found the image and imported it into the PowerPoint. Let's go to solid fill. So solid fill is, as the name elaborates it, it just fills it in by the color, and the transparency you can increase it by the white. Gradient fill. So gradient fill, you can combine different colors, where one color is you can choose from your selection, and then control the brightness, transparency, and all these different settings here. I'm not going to go into detail because I have other things to cover for you guys. And if you guys just click back to picture or texture, you guys may see that I don't have the original picture that I had. Well, just go back and click on File and find whatever the image that you used for that specific song. And texture, you also have a variety here that you guys can use. So there's a lot of features that you guys can use here. Color and styles. So keep experimenting. This is the chance for you guys to be artistic with your slides. And then if you want to if you don't want anything here, then you can just click on reset background and it turns back to whatever you had. I have the black right now because I set it on background styles, but I could change that all back to itself. Okay, so now I'm going to undo that by pressing Ctrl Z, and then I'm going to so now I want to teach you guys how to do transitions. Now, when you guys switch to different slides, you guys may think you guys can click on a slide and then it automatically pops up to the next one. Well, I don't want you guys to think that's how it works for worship here. I want you guys to think that transitions are like the Holy Spirit moving, slowly coming in and slowly going out. So let's go to transition. So usually I like to use the transition fade, and if I click on fade and it looks like that, it just comes in and goes out. Now let's maybe experiment on other things. Reveal. Okay, that looks pretty cool, but it was a bit slow. You guys can control that here in the duration. How many seconds you guys want to make it come in and go out. But I usually like to stick with a fade. And now here I'm going to press Ctrl A, and what that does is select all the slides, and I can apply that to all of it. And so on mouse click, leave it as it is, because that allows you to switch to the different slides by a click. So let's test it out. So I'm going to do slideshow. Okay, it just faded there and brought up the front page, and I'm going to go to the next slide and fade it into the next. And just like that, switches just like that, and escape. And so my kind of style is fade, but don't choose any inappropriate kind of transitions like push, wide, split, or anything. Don't play around. Please treat this seriously. This is a moment where worshipers focus on God only. So stick with fade. I really prefer you guys to do that. And so now I want you guys to learn how to make the front covers as well. You guys will have different images for all your songs, but then also choose an image for your for your front cover. Make it so that it looks welcoming. So for example, this was the picture for the sisters' appreciation. So I could use that image, and I displayed that the whole time, the whole day, for sisters' appreciation. So choose a cover image with the title and make sure it's readable. Change the text color and also the font if you want. But I'm gonna have you guys work on PowerPoint and master it for here and for now. And I'm gonna introduce you guys to something new. So experiment here with the Drawing Tools Format tab here and play around with that as well. So There, I'll explain it if you want.